Hello, dear listener, and welcome to a quiet moment by the sea with Somnus Saga, where the waves whisper softly and the world feels vast yet gentle. This is a place for slow thoughts, for questions that don't demand answers, only curiosity. My name is your guide tonight, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're curled up under a blanket, the room dark and still, or resting somewhere with the faint glow of moonlight nearby. If you'd like, picture where you are right now. Maybe a city with the soft hum of lights, or a countryside where the night is deep and quiet. What time is it there? Is it late, the world hushed, or early, the stars just beginning to fade? Wherever you are, whatever time it is, you're welcome here, sharing this gentle space with me. Tonight, we're not chasing stars or unraveling the universe's secrets. Instead, we'll sit by a quiet coast with Mira, a retired marine geologist who spends her days watching the tides and wondering about the ocean's past. What if, long before humans walked the shore, another kind of intelligence lived beneath the waves? Not mermaids or myths, but a real biological civilization lost to time. It's a slow question. One we'll explore gently, without hurry, letting the sea's rhythm guide us. If you enjoy this kind of quiet wandering, I'd be grateful if you tapped like or subscribed. It helps this soft signal reach other curious minds. No pressure, just an invitation, like the tide's gentle pull. So settle in. Let your thoughts drift, and let's walk to the shore, where the waves move slowly, and the past feels just out of reach. The village rests quietly at the edge of the sea, its houses small and weathered, their roofs sloping gently toward the horizon. Mira's cottage sits closest to the shore, its walls salt-stained, its windows catching the first light of dawn. The morning is soft, the air cool with the scent of seaweed and salt. Mira wakes slowly, her breath matching the rhythm of the waves outside. She lies still, listening to the tide's faint murmur, a sound that feels older than the village, older than the cliffs that frame the coast. Her bed is simple, a quilt of faded greys and blues, its edges worn from years of use. She smooths it carefully, a small act that feels like greeting the day. Outside, the shore stretches wide, a curve of sand and pebbles smoothed by countless tides. Mira steps onto the porch, her feet brushing the rough wooden boards. The porch holds a single chair, its paint chipped, and a small table where a chipped ceramic mug rests. She fills it with water from a jug, the liquid clear, catching the light as it pours. She sips slowly, tasting the faint salt of the coast, and looks out at the sea. The waves roll gently, each one folding into the next, a quiet dance that never hurries. A gull calls in the distance, its cry soft, like a note dropped into the morning stillness. Mira walks to the shore, her steps slow on the sandy path. The sand is cool underfoot, speckled with bits of shell and seaweed, each piece smoothed by the sea's patient touch. She kneels, running her fingers through the grains, feeling their texture, fine and soft, like time itself sifted into layers. The tide is low, leaving pools among the rocks, each one a small world of algae and tiny crabs scuttling in the shallows. She watches them, not with purpose, but because they're there, part of the coast's endless rhythm. The sun rises higher, warming the air, though the coast stays cool, kissed by the sea's breath. Mira walks along the shore, her eyes on the water, its surface shifting from grey to green under the light. She spent years studying the ocean, its depths, its sediments, its secrets. The sea is old, she thinks, older than the cliffs, older than the village, older than anything she can name. The earth itself is staggeringly old, 4.5 billion years, give or take a few 100 million, a fact that settles into her mind like a pebble in the tide. Most of that time, there were no humans, no villages, no footsteps on this shore. Life was in the water then, swimming, drifting, evolving in ways we can barely imagine. The ocean doesn't keep a diary, Mira muses, as she picks up a shell, its surface worn smooth, its edges soft. It doesn't preserve things neatly like a book on a shelf. The waves erode, the currents shift, the seafloor buries and reburies itself. Shells dissolve, corals crumble, bones sink into sediment and vanish. The planet is an efficient recycler, she thinks, its tides and tectonics grinding down everything in time. Mountains rise and fall, continents drift, oceans open and close. Every few 100 million years, the Earth's face changes, leaving little behind. To survive millions of years, a trace must be extraordinary, caught in just the right layer, shielded from the sea's relentless churn. Mira pauses by a tide pool, its water clear, reflecting the sky. She imagines a civilization, not on land, but in the sea, an intelligent species, perhaps aquatic, perhaps unlike anything we know. What if 100 million years ago, after dinosaurs roamed, but before mammals rose, such a species lived, not with cities of stone, but with structures of coral, woven kelp, or bioluminescent webs we wouldn't recognize as technology. Maybe they had culture, communication, a way of shaping their world. And then something happened, a shift, a catastrophe, or just the slow fade of time. They vanished, their traces swallowed by the ocean's depths. Mira sits on a rock, the stone cool and rough under her hands. She thinks of a question she's carried for years, one she read in a paper by Gavin Schmidt and Adam Frank in 2018. They called it the Silurian hypothesis, named after a fictional race of intelligent reptiles from a science fiction show. Not a claim that such a civilization existed, but a question. If an advanced aquatic civilization lived millions of years ago, could we find it? Would the ocean hold their story, or would it have erased it, molecule by molecule? The idea lingers in her mind, not urgent, but quiet, like the tide's steady pull. She looks at the waves, each one rolling in, then out, leaving a faint line of foam. Our own civilization, she thinks, leaves marks. Plastic in the oceans, concrete in the soil, carbon in the air. These are written into the Earth's layers now, part of what some call the Anthropocene, a proposed epoch marked by human influence. Nitrogen from fertilizers, radioactive isotopes from nuclear tests, microplastics in sediment cores. If we vanish tomorrow, future scientists might find these traces sharp and sudden in the rock. But how long would they last? 1,000 years? 1,000,000? The ocean is patient, Mira thinks, its currents grinding down even the stubbornest signs. An aquatic civilization, she muses, would face the same fate. Their tools, if made of shell or organic matter, would dissolve. Their structures, if built of coral or fiber, would crumble. Even metal, if they used it, would corrode in salt water, vanishing in centuries unless buried in an oxygen-free layer. The ocean floor is young, geologically speaking, recycled through subduction every 200 million years or so. Old seafloor slides under continents, melting into the mantle, erasing whatever rested on it. If a civilization lived on a now submerged coast, their traces might be magma now, lost to the Earth's slow churn. The tide creeps higher, lapping at the rocks. Mira picks up a pebble, smooth and grey, its edges softened by years of waves. She thinks of fossils, how rare they are. Most organisms never fossilize. They decompose, get eaten, dissolve. Fossilization needs specific conditions: rapid burial, mineral replacement, protection from erosion. Even then, the fossil must survive tectonic shifts, subduction, the ocean's endless recycling. The fossil record, Mira knows, is spotty, incomplete. A few frames from a long-lost film. If an aquatic species was intelligent, their bones might not have fossilized at all, especially if they lived in active coastal zones where currents scatter remains. She walks further, the sand shifting under her feet, each grain a tiny piece of the past. If a civilization existed 50 or 100 million years ago, what would they leave? Not skyscrapers or smartphones, Mira thinks, but subtler signs. Chemical anomalies, perhaps. Changes in carbon isotopes. Unusual concentrations of rare elements. Synthetic molecules that don't occur naturally. Schmidt and Frank suggested looking for such markers, like carbon shifts from burning fuels, or plastics that resist decay. Our own civilization leaves these now. Microplastics in ocean trenches, cesium-137 from nuclear tests. But even these fade. Plastics break down in sunlight, isotopes decay, and the ocean mixes everything into its vast, silent archive. Mira imagines a civilization that didn't build with stone or metal, but with the sea itself. Structures of living coral, networks of algae, patterns in the sand that shifted with the tides. Their technology might be invisible to us, their intelligence expressed in ways we don't recognize. A termite mound, she thinks, looks simple, but it's a marvel of engineering. Climate control, resource storage, collective behavior. Scale that up, bury it for millions of years, and it might vanish, mistaken for a natural reef. The ocean, Mira knows, is not a museum. It's a processor, breaking down, scattering, burying. By noon, the sun is high, its light glinting off the waves. Mira returns to her cottage, pausing to sweep the porch, the broom's bristles soft against the wood. The dust and bits of seaweed collect in small piles, which she brushes into the sand, where they'll blend with the shore. She sits in her chair, the wood creaking faintly, and watches the tide rise, each wave a little higher, a little closer. The sea is never still, she thinks, but its motion is predictable. A rhythm older than the cliffs, older than the village. She eats a simple lunch, bread, a slice of cheese, a pear from a tree near the cottage. She chews slowly, tasting the bread's faint sweetness, the cheese's creamy tang, the pear's soft juiciness. The act is unhurried, her eyes on the sea, where a gull drifts, its wings catching the breeze. She thinks again of the Silurian hypothesis, how it asks not just what we'd find, but what we'd miss. The ocean covers 70% of the Earth, hiding secrets beneath miles of water and sediment. Most of the seafloor is geologically young, resurfaced or subducted, erasing what once was. If a civilization lived there, their traces might be gone, folded into the mantle, melted away. Mira walks to the cliff's edge, where the rock is worn, layered with stripes of sediment. She touches it, feeling the rough texture, the weight of time. The geological record, she knows, is full of gaps, unconformities where layers were never laid or were eroded away. The Grand Canyon's layers are like a book, but missing pages, entire chapters lost. If an aquatic civilization left a mark, it would need to be stubborn, chemical signatures perhaps, or patterns in the sediment that don't match natural processes. But even then, she thinks, we might not see it. Not because it's not there, but because we're not looking right. As afternoon fades, the light softens, the sea turning a deeper blue. Mira walks ashore again, her footsteps leaving faint prints that the tide will soon erase. She thinks of our own traces, how quickly they'd vanish. If humans disappeared tomorrow, cities would crumble within centuries. Steel would rust, concrete would crack, plastics would fragment. In 1,000 years, roads would be scars barely visible. In 1,000,000, even those would fade. Only the deepest mines, the most stable landfills might hold hints. Chemical echoes, isotope spikes, synthetic residues. The ocean would reclaim the coasts, burying harbors, dissolving piers, scattering debris. She imagines a future scientist, millions of years from now, drilling a core from the seafloor. They might find a thin layer, strange and sharp, a spike in carbon, a trace of plastic, a burst of isotopes. Would they know it was us? Or would they call it a natural anomaly, a volcanic burst, a methane release? The ocean, Mira thinks, doesn't care about our stories. It moves, it shifts, it erases. An aquatic civilization would face the same fate. Their signals diluted, their patterns lost unless preserved in a rare, stable niche, a deep sediment layer, a sealed cave beneath the sea. Mira returns to the cottage, lighting a lantern on the porch. Its glow is soft, casting shadows on the sand. She sits, the chair creaking, and watches the waves, their rhythm steady, unending. The sea is a language, she thinks, written in currents and sediment, in isotopes and shells. It speaks of time, of change, of things that come and go. If something lived here once, something intelligent, their story might be in that language, hidden in a layer we haven't read, a signal we haven't heard. Evening settles, the air cooler now, scented with salt and seaweed. The stars emerge, faint at first, then brighter, scattered across the sky like pebbles on the shore. Mira watches them, her breath slow, her thoughts drifting. The village is quiet, the houses dark, the seas murmur, the only sound. She thinks of myths, stories of lost lands, of cities beneath the waves, like Atlantis or Mu. Not proof, but echoes, perhaps, of real places drowned by rising seas. The end of the last ice age 20,000 years ago saw sea levels rise over 100 meters, flooding coasts where people lived. Those stories, she thinks, might carry fragments of truth, coded in metaphor, preserved in memory. She wonders about an aquatic civilization's myths. Would they have told stories of the deep, of currents that carried their world away? Would their songs be in bubbles, their art in patterns of light? Their traces, if they left any, would be subtle, a shift in ocean chemistry, a layer of unusual sediment, a pattern of shells arranged just so. But the ocean, Mira knows, is not kind to memory. It scatters, it buries, it dissolves. Even now, we've mapped the moon better than the seafloor. If something is there, it's hidden, waiting for the right question, the right tool. Mira sips water from her mug, the taste cool and familiar. She smooths the quilt on her bed, its colors soft in the lantern's light. The cottage creaks faintly, settling into the night. The sea is still there, its waves rolling, its secrets kept. She lies down, the quilt warm, the air cool through the open window. The stars watch, the tide moves, and the world feels vast, quiet, unending. And so, dear listener, we leave Mira's coast, where the waves keep their steady rhythm, and the night holds the world in quiet embrace. The cottage rests now, its lantern dim, the sea whispering softly beyond the sand. There's no need for answers here, no rush to know what lies beneath the waves, just the gentle pull of the tide, the stillness of the stars, the calm of a question left to drift. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope this journey has brought you peace, a chance to let your thoughts soften, to let the sea carry you toward rest. If you're still awake, imagine the waves rolling in, each one folding into the next, their sound a lullaby older than memory. Let your breath match their rhythm, slow and steady. Let your body sink into the bed, the chair, wherever you are. The stars are out there, watching, just as they watch over Mira's cottage, over the sea, over you. There's nothing to do now but rest, to let the night take you, to drift into the quiet like a pebble, settling into the tide. If you've enjoyed this gentle tale, I'd be grateful if you tapped like or subscribed. It's a small way to share this quiet shore with others. But there's no hurry, no need to move. Just let your eyes grow heavy. Let the sea fade into the dark, and let sleep come, soft and slow, like the turning of the earth itself. Thank you for being here, for sharing this moment, this story. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, sleep well, dear listener. The sea will be here when you wake, and so will the stars.